my way back in the mobile studio to work. I bring you another episode of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. I'm your host, Sir Chad Everbro Shears, and today's episode is on moving towards your fear. People, what people recognize with me is I've been tackling my fears throughout my life. Whenever there's an attribute or some specific character trait that people are like, hey, I really admire this about you, or that they speak about, or they look for guidance through, or whatever it is, and I'm not self-centered or full of myself. It's not at all. I'm sharing honestly about conversations that I've had. What people are typically seeing or what they're envying in me is the outcome of facing fear. Because it takes courage to face fear. Cowardice is to be aware of something, to be afraid of it, and then move away from it, refuse to address it. Courage is the opposite of that. It's when you recognize something is there and you feel that being, cowardly would be, justifiable, and you choose to go after it anyway. My anxiety was the worst of my life whenever I would avoid things. I know this has been quite some time. Now, there's still areas of anxiety that come up, but I use that as like a compass to find out where I'm going next and what I need to do in order to develop myself. So, this is my thing, my shtick, if you will, is development. I love it. It's one of the most valuable things to me is the structural thinking process that I implement for development. I see an area and I want to grow or develop there, and I take it on in a priority-based way, but I still take action. So a lot of times there's what I don't know about something, or that I have been less than effective in a previous timeline. That shows up where if I don't know anything about it, there's the fear of failure that is, I'm going to make mistakes and I don't know how expensive those mistakes may be. It's not just money, it's any demand that particular thing puts on you. Could be just your time, and when you're doing that, you couldn't be doing anything else, and your expected return on it. Now, if you expect to be an expert off of the first try, well, that's a fool's errand. You might get lucky and be highly proficient the first time, but not the second, third, or fourth, or whatever, but just because of the way things happen to fall into place for you. But is that fear would be present in, my experiences and from others is that with what we don't know presents its own type of fear. Now, the other side of it is I have done this before and I wasn't successful. Then there's the I don't want to experience the outcome that I previously experienced again. And I hear this a lot, like I'll never be in that situation again. Like, well, what are you doing to rectify it? Or are you just avoiding it? Because if you're just avoiding it, it will happen again. If it doesn't happen again, I'd be dumbfounded. At what timeline does it happen again, and in what way does it show up in your life? It's likely not going to be the exact same thing. From what you're saying you don't want to experience again. Like, I'm never going to date that person again or anybody like them, and then 6 months later they're dating that same person again, But it could be the other side of it. It could be, well, that's a different person, but their behaviors are very similar. Or the other, which is the relief concept, which is I'm getting away from this person. One of my previous partners and a previous girlfriend of mine, that was, she has a thing for guys that are very similar to myself as far as personality traits and things like that, and other attributes. And she had a guy that she married in her 20s that was very similar to some extent. We had some of the traits, some of those things of being the dominant side, and then being, kind of. He was more of a bad boy. I'm not a bad boy. Not like that anyway. The kind of person that treat people badly. But that's who she married first. And after that marriage, so when they got divorced, she married the stark contrast opposite of him. Because that was the I will never be in that relationship again scenario. And she spent 20 years married to this gentleman. It was a great guy, but the spark wasn't there. the pieces that she was really drawn towards wasn't in that relationship, and over time, they became, just friends. And that's the death of a marriage, where the romance isn't there, but the friends. It's great to be friends with your partner, but you also want to have that thing that makes it that different type of relationship, that intimacy, and that romantic quality. So the never again can come into play where you say, I'm never going to go through that again. Avoidance will not will not truly avoid it. It just, you have it on your radar when to move away from something, but it'll keep coming up. It's just how frequent does it come up, and how prepared are you for it when it does. So I use the relationship piece example from an ex-partner of mine, but it could be anything. I've tried that business venture before. Now, I'm technically on my 5th business venture that has 2 companies, and this is the first one that is really profitable. And that's, you just have to keep going. The other 4 have all had their own consequences, not just the lessons that came out of it, but the hardships that were necessary for the lessons to become taught, right? There's plenty of, I should never do that again, because it put me in a very bad spot, and that be for all 4, for the 4 previous. If you add in, there's a story that I've told about when I was in 7th grade, and it technically was my first business as an entrepreneur, and a little fanny pack, and it was like all the kids would ask for gum or candy, and one day I'm like, you know what, I got $1, and there's these 1-cent bubble gums at the gas station, so I bought 100 of them, and then I sold them in school for 10 cents each. So technically that was my first business. So if that be the case, I'm on my 6th. I'm saying all of that because the first one, really, I just got yelled at by the principal. They told me I couldn't do it again. Couldn't do it anymore. And now as an adult, I look at the rational, or the reason they gave me, or the excuse they gave me, and it doesn't hold up now as an adult. But as a kid, it was like, listen to your authorities. Plus my dad kicked in there. He's like, you better listen to the principal. So, well, both my parents, but my dad was really the authoritarian in it, or the authority in that statement, or in that conversation with both my parents. But the point being is, I've always had something after or during that made things unpleasant. But I kept trying, and I keep trying, and I keep putting effort into it to get better at it and to get the desirable outcome. Now, this is the first profitable one. The other that I'm working on obviously has another opportunity for being profitable. It's currently not generating anything, but that's okay because the stage that it's in. Now, with that being said, it's the fear that could be there, but I refuse to accept the fear, and let the fear stop me. I use it to go, there's work here. If you think about it this way, is every time fear shows up in your life, other people have had that same moment. Now, do you look up to the people that let fear move them away from it and never do anything about it? Or do you look up to the people that said, fear be damned, I'm going to do something about this, and I'm going to overcome this? For me, it's the overcoming. I'm looking at those people. I want the secret sauce, right? The ingredients that make their success. Now, I'll never make their success. I'll make my success that may look like theirs. Now, me, it's not the outcome at the end. That's obviously the target. It's the process of practice that gets you closer to it. That's the part that I really enjoy, because it's measurable, it's valuable, I can really get a lot out of it. And I love teaching or offering insight to help other people overcome things. That is a deep core value of mine as well, is to assist others or to support others. So, in fact, when fear shows up, it's your choice what you do with it. You either stop and you don't do something with it, and you let it stop you, or you figure out how you're going to overcome it. This model of thinking, or the structure of thinking, is the same thing. It works for so many things. I've talked in the series about the phoenix, the series with the dragon. Don't give birth to a dragon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the videos. They're probably about 35 or 40 videos ago. Go to those. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same model of thinking. You face down fear, and you overcome it. And it doesn't mean that you're going to permanently get rid of fear, but become accustomed to being around. It's the same thing as being uncomfortable. Get used to being uncomfortable. You'll have times that you need to recharge, get back to your comfort zone, recharge, and then get out of it again. I find the longer I'm out of my comfort zone and the more frequent I do that, the longer I can stay out of my comfort zone. All right, face down your fear. So, the final note on this is the things that have stopped me from doing what I'm currently doing throughout my life has been fear. Like with taking professional singing lessons. The only thing that stopped me from doing that really was the fear of addressing it. It's the fear of having somebody who truly is a professional grade me and to tell me whether or not I'm any good at it. And it's odd because it's not required, it's not necessary, but yet I still did it. It's the same thing for all of it. And so now it's professional singing lessons, finding dance lessons, saxophone. I've got a lot of stuff, and I need to be the best inspiration. For the future, and for people in my life, and for my my big news that's coming up soon. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, that's it for today's video. Face down your fear. I've got an appointment to get to. So with that, it's your life is your call. Now, if you want to have something powerful, you want to make a big difference in it, then do something about it. If you don't want to experience the things that you keep saying you want to experience, then it's fine. Keep letting fear take you away from it. Not for me. It's painful, at times. It's full of every single experience you could possibly have. But we just want to try to avoid the pain, unfortunately. And that thing is sometimes you need pain. You need to be uncomfortable in order to make that progress towards the future you want. So if you don't have a good mentor, find one. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Share this video with people in your life or the person in your life that comes to mind listening to it. Use this as an icebreaker to take, the conversation into, bring that conversation into existence if you haven't already started it. So again, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. I'm always up, I like comments on there. So let's get up to something. Let's get up to it together. Because I promise you, I'm up to something. All right, until next time. I am your host, Sir Chad Everett Brochures, and this is Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. See ya.